Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 1. Welcome, friends. A lot has been written and spoken about Gita. What is so special about Gita and how it applies to us today? In a world filled with noise, conflict, and constant motion, we all stand on our own battlefields. Every day, we face choices between right and wrong, peace and ambition, duty and desire, and in those moments of confusion, fear, and moral dilemma, the Bhagavad Gita speaks to us, as it has for thousands of years. The Gita is not just an ancient scripture, it's a mirror to the human condition. It is a timeless dialogue between the individual and the infinite, between the restless mind and still consciousness within. Even today, its wisdom remains as relevant as ever, because though the weapons have changed, the battlefield has not. Our wars are fought not only with armies, but within our hearts, between our ego and our essence, between the material and the eternal. The Bhagavad Gita is composed of 18 chapters, each a step in the journey from ignorance to enlightenment, from curiosity to clarity, from despair to realization. And today, we begin the first chapter, Arjun Viṣhāda Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despair and misery. It may begin with sorrow, but it is through this sorrow that the door to divine wisdom opens. The setting is that the sacred land of Kurukshetra, a field once sanctified by kings and sages, now transformed into battlefield. Two mighty armies face each other. On one side Kauravas and the other side Pāṇḍavas, both bound by family ties, yet divided by destiny. The blind king, Dhritarashtra, filled with anxiety and attachment, he asks Sanjay, "What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do when they gathered, eager for the battle on this field of righteousness?" Through Sanjay's divine vision, the curtain rises, the conches blow, the earth trembles, even divisions of Kaurava warriors stand in grand formation, facing 7 divisions of Pāṇḍavas, smaller in number, but guided by righteousness and by Lord Krishna himself. In the midst of this tense silence before the storm, Duryodhana, the Kaurava prince, approaches his teacher Dronacharya. His words carry fear, strategy, and ego, as he tries to rouse his teacher's pride and loyalty before the first arrow is loosed. This is where the story begins. The outer battle of Kurukshetra and the inner battle of human soul. This is Arjun Viṣhāda Yoga, where despair gives birth to awakening and where the journey of Gita truly begins. Dhritarashtra uvācha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamakaha Pāṇḍavāścaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, "O Sanjay, assembled in the holy field of Kurukshetra, eager for battle, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do?" Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. The opening words of Bhagavad Gita don't just set a scene, they reveal a truth. Kurukshetra was no ordinary battlefield. It was a sacred land, a land where gods once performed sacrifices, and King Kuru himself did penance. That's why it was called Dharmakshetra, the field of righteousness, a place where spiritual power filled the air. When Dhritarashtra speaks of Kshetra, he means his land, the land of the Kurus. But this wasn't just fight over territory, it was a clash of values. In every age, wars have been fought over land, wealth, and women. Here too, land was the issue. The Pāṇḍavas and the Kauravas were both sons of same royal family. But when the Kauravas refused to give the Pāṇḍavas their rightful share, war became inevitable. Yudhishthira didn't want war. He knew the destruction it would bring. But bound by duty and the righteousness of their cause, the Pāṇḍavas were compelled to stand and fight. Dhritarashtra's partiality is captured in just a few words. Mamakaha Pāṇḍavāścaiva. My sons and the Pāṇḍavas, not our sons, not Kuru brothers. His attachment clouded his judgment. and ultimately destroyed his family. There is a lesson here for all of us. When we cling to mine versus theirs, we create a division, and division leads to destruction. And yet, from this very churning of conflict, something higher emerged. The stir caused by the war revealed wisdom. In Dhritarashtra's mind, it produced war. In Arjuna's heart, it produced desire and longing for clarity, for truth. And from that yearning, the Bhagavad Gita was born. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishta tu Pandavanikam Yuddham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Raja Vachanam Bravita. Sanjay said, seeing the army of Pandavas arranged in the military formation, King Duryodhan approached his guru Dronacharya and spoke these words. When the great war of Kurukshetra was about to begin, both armies stood facing each other, ready, alert, and waiting for the sound that would mark the beginning of the destiny. King Dhritarashtra, blind not only in sight but in insight, was restless to know what was unfolding. He asked Sanjay about his sons and those of Pandu, and so Sanjay began with the word tu, first describing Dhritarashtra's own sons, Kauravas, before turning to Pandavas. The Pandava army, though smaller, stood united, disciplined, fearless, and guided by righteousness and Lord Krishna himself. Their alignment with Dharma gave them the power far greater than mere numbers. Seeing their confident formation, Duryodhan was stirred within. His pride, his insecurity, and his strategy all began to move at once. He approached his teacher Dronacharya, a man of immense skill, but also of great attachment. Duryodhan's move was strategic. He went to Dronacharya partly to flatter him, partly to influence him, and partly because it was expected of a warrior to show respect to his preceptor before the battle. Interestingly, he did not go first to Bhishma, the commander-in-chief. Why? Because Bhishma loved him like a grandson. He needed no persuasion. Dronacharya, however, loved Arjun more, and Duryodhan knew he had to win Drona's heart if Kauravas were to gain an edge. The scripture says, Vachanam Bravita. Duryodhan spoke words not just casually but carefully, with intention. His speech was prudent, sharp, and filled with hidden motives, meant to stir Dronacharya's emotions and awaken his loyalty to Kauravas' cause. And that moment, when words carried both wisdom and ego, both respect and manipulation, that was the real beginning of the war. The battle had already begun, not with arrows, but with words. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharyam Mahatin Chamum Yuddham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Behold, O teacher, this mighty army of sons of Pandu, arranged by your wise disciple Drishtadumna, the son of Drupad. As the war of Kurukshetra stood on the edge of beginning, silence filled the battlefield. A silence so heavy, even time seemed to hold its breath. In that stillness, Duryodhan, the prince of Kauravas, approached his teacher Dronacharya. He addressed him respectfully. Acharya, the revered master who had once taught both Kauravas and Pandavas the sacred art of warfare. But behind this respect lay a spark of manipulation. By calling him Acharya Dronacharya, Duryodhan reminded Drona of his duty to remain impartial, to not favor either side. Then, with words sharper than any sword, Duryodhan struck where it hurts the most. He reminded Drona, "You, the great teacher, have trained Drishtadumna, the very man born to kill you. Drishtadumna, the son of Drupad, your old enemy, stands now before you as the commander of Pandava's army. Would your beloved Pandavas have chosen him if they truly loved and respected you?" These words were not mere respect. They were designed to awaken Drona's pride, to rekindle old wounds, and to turn affection into fury. The Kaurava army was vast. 11 divisions strong, while the Pandavas had only 7. Yet Duryodhana saw their smaller army as mightier. Their unity, their faith, and the divine presence of Lord Krishna gave them strength beyond numbers. He turned to his teacher again. "Behold, O Master, see their mighty formation. Do not underestimate them. Fight with all your strength. Defeat your own pupil, the son of Drupada, before he defeats you." And so, before the first arrow was even released, the true battle had already begun. The battle not of weapons, but of words. A battle of emotion against wisdom, of righteousness against attachment. Atra shura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatha drishtaketushchakitanaha kashirajascha viryavan purujit kunti bhojascha shaibhascha narapungavaha yudha manyuscha vikranta uttamaujascha viryavan saubhadro dropadeyascha sarva eva maharathaha. Here are heroes, mighty archers, equal in battle to Bhim and Arjun, Yuyudhan, Virat, and Drupad, the great warriors. There are also Drishtaketu, Chakitan, the fearless king of Kashi, Purujit, Kuntibhoj, and Shaibhya, the best among men. Yudhamanyu, the brave, Uttamajas, the mighty, the son of Subhadra and sons of Draupadi, all great chariot warriors. The morning mist of Kurukshetra shimmered under the rising sun. Two mighty armies stood face to face. Warriors, kings, brothers, ready to fight for power and pride. In that tense silence, before the first conch was blown, Duryodhana's eyes scanned the battlefield. Before him stood the army of Pandavas, fewer in number but radiant with confidence and righteousness. His heart trembled, yet his mind sharpened. He turned to his teacher, Guru Dronacharya, the master of warfare, and began to speak. But this was no ordinary greeting. Every word was chosen with precision, designed to stir emotion, to awaken old wounds, and to ignite a flame of loyalty within his teacher. "Acharya," he began, "you taught both the Kauravas and Pāṇḍavas the art of war. But see now, your own disciples stand against you." He pointed to Yuyudhan, Satyaki, the disciple of Arjun, saying, "You trained him, yet he stands on Arjuna's side. How ungrateful he is to raise arms against you." Then, like strategist, weaving a web of emotion, Duryodhana reminded his teacher of King Virat. "Remember? It was Virat who once humiliated our warrior Susharma, who forced us to flee the battlefield. That same Virat now stands against you." And then came the deepest cut, Drupad. Once Drona's dear friend, now his bitter enemy. "Do you remember, Acharya?" Duryodhana said softly, "How he mocked you before kings and princes. How he called you a beggar. And to avenge you, he performed sacred ritual to bring forth a son, Drishtadumna, born only to kill you. That same son now leads the Pandava army. He named others too, Drishtaketu, as foolish enough to fight under Krishna, who once killed his father. Chakitan, the lone Yadav, siding with Pandavas while Yadav army stood with Kauravas. And the king of Kashi, a fierce and formidable warrior. Then came familiar names, Purujit, Kuntibhoj, Shaibhya, family members yet standing on opposite side. Even Yudhimanyu and Uttamauj, guardians of Arjuna's chariot wheels, were singled out. And then Duryodhana's voice hardened. He spoke of Abhimanyu, the young son of Arjun, brave and fearless, who learned the art of piercing war formations while still in his mother's womb. And finally, he mentioned the 5 sons of Draupadi, reminding Drona of Draupadi's public insult and urging him to avenge that humiliation. Duryodhana concluded, "All of them, O Acharya, are Maharathis, great warriors, masters of scripture and weapons, each capable of battling 10,000 archers at once. O teacher, this is the army you face today." Beneath his flattery and praise lay a deep unease, fear disguised as strategy, anxiety masked as confidence. In his words, he glimpsed the beginning of great unraveling. For the war of Kurukshetra was not just fought with arrows and swords, but with emotions, egos, and unhealed wounds from the past. This was the true dawn of Mahabharata war, where righteousness and ambition, faith and fury all stood steady and ready to decide the destiny of mankind. Asmakantu vishishtaye tanti bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sanyasye sanyarthatan bravimite. Now, O best of Brahmins, hear about the distinguished leaders of our army. I shall name them for you and for your information. Duryodhana, the proud prince of the Kauravas, turns to his revered teacher Dronacharya, the master who taught both Kauravas and Pandavas the art of war. With a voice that hides both confidence and unease, he says, "O best among the twice born, know this. Our army too is filled with mighty warriors, chariot heroes, no less skilled or fearless than the sons of Pandu. In fact, they are stronger, better trained, and ready for victory." He uses the word nibodh, know this, because his own army stands behind Dronacharya, while earlier, when pointing toward Pandavas' armies, he had said, "Pascha, behold." Now seeking to draw this teacher's focus, Duryodhana declares, "I shall name the few chief of my army, O master, the great heroes who stand ready for battle." He does not name all, for there are too many, but he highlights a few, hoping to stir courage and unity among his ranks. But beneath his show of pride lies an undercurrent of fear. Duryodhana has just seen Pandava army, smaller yet perfectly ordered, disciplined and radiant with righteousness. He knows that Lord Krishna himself stands among them, and that the presence of the divine and the righteous gives unseen strength, a strength that transcends numbers, weapons, and strategy. Because righteousness and God are eternal, they influence all, even though those who oppose them, even the animals, the trees, the very wind that moves across the field. Worldly power, on the other hand, is fleeting, a shadow before the eternal flame. Yet, unwilling to yield to this truth, Duryodhana tries to mask his unease. He assures Dronacharya that their army, vast, mighty, and materially powerful, is superior, that the victory is theirs to claim. But as the two armies prepare for war, one truth quietly stands in contrast to all his bravado. Righteousness, though small in number, is always mightier than pride. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Krupascha Samitinjayah Ashwathama Vikarnascha Somadattis Tathaivacha. You yourself, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, and conqueror in battle, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somdatta. O Acharya, Duryodhana begins, his voice echoing across the tense air. You and Bhishma both are unmatched in this world. If you fight with your full might, no god, no demon, or no man could ever stand before you. Your valor is known across the earth. And Bhishma, the immortal warrior, the vow-bound guardian, cannot be slain unless he himself chooses it. And there stands Karna, the fearless, the invincible. Karna alone could conquer Pandava army. Even Arjuna is no match for him. Then there is Kripacharya, ever victorious, wise, and immortal. And Ashwathama, your own son, learned in every celestial weapon, fearless beyond measure. But, O Acharya, do not think that only the Pandavas are righteous. My brother Vikarna too is just and brave. And Bhurishrava, noble and virtuous, a giver of gifts and performer of sacred sacrifices. He too stands with us, a true warrior of faith and duty. By naming these heroes, Duryodhana's intent is clear. He wishes to reassure his teacher and himself that Kaurava army is neither weak nor lacking in righteousness. Among them are immortals like Kripacharya and Ashwathama, giants of valor like Bhishma and Karna, and noblemen like Vikarna and Bhurishrava. He believes his army to be stronger, mightier, and even more righteous than that of Pandavas. And in this declaration, he hides the flicker of fear rising within his heart. Aneyacha bahavaha shura madarte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanaha sarve yuddha visharadaha. And many other heroes are ready to give up their lives for my sake, all armed with various weapons and skilled in warfare. Besides the above-mentioned heroes, there are many great chariot warriors such as Bhalika, Shalya, Bhugdatta, Jayadratha, and many others in our army who have come here to fight by our side, staking their lives for me. They may be killed in the war, but they will not run away from the battlefield. How should I express my hearty thankfulness to them before you? All these heroes are experts in their use of weapons, such as swords, maces, tridents, and astras like arrows and javelins. They are in every way experts in the science of warfare. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tvidametesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. Our army is inadequate and is easier to be conquered, as it is protected by Bhishma, a well-wisher of both the armies. But their army is marshaled by Bhim. That is unconquerable because he guards it very well. Duryodhana, reflecting on the battlefield, feels uneasy about his own army. He admits, our army, though larger than that of Pandavas, is easier to be conquered because it is clumsy, undisciplined, disunited, and faint-hearted. The army of Pandavas, however, is condensed, disciplined, united, and fearless. He further worries that the chief protector of his army, Bhishma, though powerful, is inwardly sympathetic towards Pandavas. Bhishma is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. His heart has respect for Yudhishthir and love for Arjun. Though outwardly on our side, he is truly their well-wisher. This realization makes Duryodhana anxious, wondering how can our army gain victory over Pandava under such circumstances. He then admits the strength of opposing side. The army of Pandavas can easily be victorious over ours because all their warriors are united without any difference of opinion. Their protector is Bhim, who has always defeated me multiple times. He has sworn to kill me and my brothers. His body is unbending like a rock. Even poisoning him did not kill him. With Bhima as their protector, Pandavas will surely triumph. Here is an important thing to take a note of and remember. While Arjun, upon seeing the Kaurav army, raises his bow with calm courage, Duryodhana, upon seeing Pandava army, is gripped by fear. He approaches Dronacharya to hide his fear and manipulate him against Pandavas. This contrast reflects their inner worlds. On one side, Duryodhana's heart is filled with unrighteousness, injustice, and guilt, and such a person can never live in peace. On the other side, Arjuna's heart holds righteousness and truth. He has no deceit or fear, acting only on with clarity and faith. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu Yatha bhagam avastitaah bhishmamevabhirakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. Hence, all of you stationed in your respective positions support and guard Bhishma firmly from all sides. All of you stationed in your respective positions on different fronts should guard Bhishma from all sides. By saying the above words, Duryodhana wants to please Bhishma so that he may be partial to his army. Secondly, he gives instruction to the warriors of his army to see that Shikhandi should not face Bhishma. If Shikhandi comes in front of Bhishma, Bhishma will not use his arms and weapons against him because Shikhandi was a woman in the previous birth. In this birth as well, first he was a woman and later he changed into man. So Bhishma, by regarding him as a woman, has promised not to fight with Shikhandi. Shikhandi had taken birth by Lord Shiva's boon to kill Bhishma. Therefore, if Bhishma is protected from Shikhandi, Bhishma will kill all other warriors of the army of Pāṇḍavas and their victory is certain. Therefore, Duryodhana gives instruction to all great chariot warriors of his army to guard Bhishma from all sides. Tasya sajjanayana harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simham nadam vinatosche shankham dadmo pratapavan. Then the most powerful elder of the Kurus, the grand Bhishma, to encourage Duryodhana, roaring like a lion, blew his conch, giving joy to Duryodhana. Bhishma, the grand pillar of wisdom and righteousness in Mahabharata, was not just a warrior. He was the embodiment of discipline, duty, and divine knowledge. When the great battle of Kurukshetra was about to begin, Duryodhana's heart was restless. Even with 11 mighty divisions of soldiers behind him, he felt the tremor of fear. But then Bhishma, the grandsire, raised his mighty conch. That single sound echoed through the battlefield, shaking hearts, awakening courage, and filling Duryodhana with renewed confidence. Sanjay describes this moment saying, Tatsya Sanjanayana Harsham. Bhishma, cheering Duryodhana, blew his conch. It wasn't just a signal of war, it was a roar of reassurance. Bhishma was called Kuru Vriddha, the grand elder of Kuru dynasty. Older even than the oldest, wiser than the wisest, a man who renounced wealth, kingdom and marriage, devoting his entire life to righteousness and knowledge. He was Pratapavan, glorious, powerful and unmatched in skill and spirit. In his youth, Bhishma had once fought countless kings single-handedly, defeating them all to fulfill his duty to his brother. Even his guru Parshuram, the immortal warrior sage, could not overcome him in battle. Such was the strength born of purity, discipline and faith. Later, as Bhishma lay on the bed of arrows, Lord Krishna said to Yudhishthir, "If you wish to learn about righteousness, ask him now, for the sun of wisdom is about to set." Bhishma was not just a warrior, he was the living scripture of dharma itself. When Duryodhana tried to manipulate his teacher Dronacharya, the teacher remained silent, unmoved by his flattery. But Bhishma, the loving grand uncle, saw in Duryodhana not deceit, but the insecurity of a child. And so, moved by affection, he blew his conch once again. A thunderous symphonade, the roar of a lion. The sound struck terror into the hearts of enemy and filled his army with courage. Through that single act, Bhishma reminded the world, true strength is not in weapons or armies. It lies in courage born of love, duty, and inner righteousness. This was Bhishma, the grand elder, the teacher of dharma, the soul whose roar still echoes through the ages, reminding us that righteousness is the mightiest power of all. Tataha shankhascha bhairyascha panavanaka gomukhaha Sahasevabhyahanyanta Sashabdastu Mulo Bhavata. Then conches, drums, cymbals, and horns were suddenly sounded. The noise was tumultuous. After Duryodhana's clever and unsettling words to Dronacharya, Bhishma, seeing his commander's anxiety, rose to encourage him. Out of affection, he blew his mighty conch with a roar like that of lion. The very act of Bhishma blowing conch was meant not to be declare the war, but to uplift Duryodhana's spirit. Hearing Bhishma's conch, the Kaurava army misunderstood it as a signal of war. Immediately, conches, kettle drums, drums, and horns were sounded across the battlefield. The air filled with clamorous symphony of war, a combination of sacred and fearsome sounds that seemed to merge heaven and earth. Each instrument carried its own meaning. The conch symbolized divine power and victory, often blown in adoration of God. The drums was beaten during auspicious occasions and battles. The gomukh, the cow horn, added to the grandeur of the moment, their sounds spiraling across the battlefield like waves of thunder. The warriors, full of enthusiasm and pride, responded instantaneously, each joining in with their instruments until the entire Kaurava army resounded with a single overwhelming roar. The noise became tumultuous, echoing in all directions, shaking the hearts of friends and foes alike. The battlefield of Kurukshetra now stood alive, its silence shattered, its air vibrating with the sound of impending war. The great conflict of dharma and adharma had begun to stir. Tataha shveterha yeryukte mahatisya nande sthito madhavaha Pāṇḍavaischaiva tiyo shankho pradhatmatuha. Then, seated in a glorious chariot drawn by white horses, Madhav, Krishna, and the son of Pandu, Arjun, blew their divine conches. As the echoes of Bhishma's mighty conch fade across the sacred land of Kurukshetra, the battlefield falls silent for a brief, eternal moment. The Kauravas have signaled their readiness. Now all eyes turn to the other side, where the chariot of destiny stands. Arjun, the great warrior of Pāṇḍavas, sits beside the charioteer, none other than Lord Krishna himself. The chariot, a dazzling vision of divine craftsmanship, is yoked with the 4 white celestial horses. Radiant and pure, a gift from the Gandharva king Chitrarath. Though 100 of these divine horses were gifted to Arjun, 4 of the most magnificent and perfectly trained were chosen to lead him into this divine war between righteousness and ego. These were not ordinary horses. They could move between heaven and earth, symbolizing that this battle itself was more than earthly. The chariot too carried a story within it. Once the fire god Agni was afflicted with indigestion, his divine energy burned and burdened by the endless offering of ghee made by human rituals. To heal himself, he needed to consume the sacred herbs of Khandava forest. But Lord Indra, protector of that forest, extinguished every spark of fire with the rain. Then came Arjun, alongside Krishna. He helped Agni complete his sacred purpose, and in gratitude, Agni gifted Arjuna this chariot, a vehicle of brilliance and victory, its wheels strong and immense, its golden flag glimmering like lightning for miles. Upon that flag stood the emblem of Lord Hanuman, the mighty devotee of Lord Ram, whose presence infused the chariot with courage, bravery, and divine protection. The chariot became even more glorious because Lord Krishna himself sat upon it, guiding his beloved devotee. In that moment, the mortal and the divine were one, Nar and Narayan, man and God, student and master, united in purpose. Krishna, also called Madhav, the Lord of Lakshmi, the source of all prosperity, and Arjun, the greatest of Pandavas, symbolize the eternal message of the Gita that when righteousness stands with the divine, victory is certain, not merely of arms but of truth itself. And then, As the stillness of dawn hovered over Kurukshetra, Krishna and Arjun lifted their divine conches. With hearts steady and spirits pure, they blew them aloud, two sounds that shook heaven and earth, announcing not just the beginning of war, but the awakening of Dharma itself. Whenever there is Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, and whenever there is Arjun, the wielder of the Gandiv bow, there shall be victory, prosperity, and righteousness. This is not merely a verse, it is the eternal truth of life. Pancham Janyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pāṇḍram Dagdmo Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrkodaraha. Rishikesh, Krishna, blew the conch called Panchajanya. Arjun blew his Devdatta, and Bhim, the doer of unbelievable extreme deeds, blew his great conch Pāṇḍra. The battlefield of Kurukshetra. The air is thick with tension. Warriors on both sides stand alert, eyes burning, hearts pounding. And then, from the sides of Pandava, rises the divine sound, the conch of Lord himself. Panchajanya Rishikesh, Lord Krishna, the master of all senses and the knower of every heart, lifts his conch Panchajanya. This is no ordinary conch. It was formed from the demon Panchajan, whom the Lord himself had slain. And now, the same conch, transformed by divinity, roars across the battlefield. Its sound is not of war, but of awakening of divine purpose. Next, Arjun, known as Dhananjay, the conqueror of wealth and ego, raises his mighty conch Devdatta, a gift from Indra himself. This conch once echoed through battles against demons and now calls upon righteousness to rise once again. Its sound thunders the hearts of Kauravas, not as mere noise, but as the vibration of destiny unfolding. And then the ground itself seems to tremble as Bhima Karma, the doer of tremendous deeds, raises his enormous conch Pāṇḍra, the one who crushed demons like Hidimba and Baka, the one whose body is held the fire of strength and fearlessness, now lets out the blast that shakes the heavens. Bhim, the mighty Vrkodara, whose very stomach holds a fire that digests anything, food or fear, announces to the world that the righteousness has taken its stand. And so, with the sound of Panchajanya, Devdatta and Pāṇḍra, the message is clear. This is not merely a battle of bodies, but of dharma and adharma, of divine will and human choice. The conches of Lord Krishna, Arjun and Bhim together proclaim, the war has begun not for victory but for truth. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakulaha Sahadevascha Sughoshamani Pushpaka. King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch Anant Vijay. Nakul and Sahadev blew their conches Sughosh and Manipushpak. Arjun, Bhim and Yudhishthir, the three were Kunti's sons, while Nakul and Sahadev were Madri's sons. So the adjective Kunti Putra, Kunti's sons, has been used for Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir has been called a king because he was the ruler of half of the Indraprastha kingdom before exile, and according to the promise and the law, he should have been a king after living in exile for 12 years and 1 year in incognito. Kashascha Parmeshvasaha Shikhandi cha Maharathaha Drishtadumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasya Prithvipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahuha Shankhana Dadmuha Pruthaka Pruthaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, and the mighty warrior Shikhandi, Drishtadumna, Virat, and unconquered Satyaki. Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conches from different sides. Shikhandi, a fearless warrior, was originally born as Princess Amba, daughter of King of Kashi in previous life. Reborn as the daughter of King Drupad, she later attained manhood through the grace of a genie named Sthuna. Knowing this, Bhishma regarded Shikhandi as a woman and refused to fight him. Arjun, aware of this, strategically placed Shikhandi before Bhishma in battle, and taking advantage of Bhishma's restraint, shot arrows that finally brought Bhishma down. Arjun's son Abhimanyu displayed extraordinary bravery by penetrating Drona's complex military formation, the Chakravyuh. Though he fought heroically and killed many warriors, 6 Kauravas surrounded him deceitfully and attacked him together. Ultimately, Dushasan's son killed Abhimanyu by striking his head with a mace. Sanjay, in his narration, mentioned only Bhishma from Kaurava's side, but described 18 warriors from Pandava's side, including Lord Krishna, Arjun, and Bhim. This selective emphasis reflects Sanjay's reverence for righteousness, as he preferred to glorify the virtuous Pandavas and their divine allies rather than dwell on unrighteous Kauravas. Saghosho dhartarashtranam rudhayani vedarayata nabhascha prithvim chaiva tumulo vyanunadayana. That tumultuous sound echoing through the sky and the earth pierced the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons, who had seized the kingdom by injustice. As the conches of the Pandava army echoed across Kurukshetra, their sound wasn't just noise, it was a force, thunderous, roaring, piercing through the sky, shaking the earth and striking fear into the hearts of Kauravas. This was no ordinary sound, it was the sound of truth challenging falsehood, of righteousness confronting arrogance. Each vibration carried the power of justice, the echo of Dharma itself. Sanjay, describing this moment to blind king Dhritarashtra, says the sound trembled the hearts of Kauravas. Why? Because the guilt trembles when faced with truth. Those who had seized the empire, who had deceived and oppressed, now felt their own unrighteousness reflected back in the sound of Pandava's conches. The Kaurava army was massive, 11 divisions strong, filled with mighty warriors, chariots and elephants. And yet, no one of their conch sounds could match the divine resonance of the Pandavas, because righteousness gives strength and unrighteousness weakens the heart. The Pandavas had ruled their kingdom with justice. Even after exile, their demand for their rightful share was fair, a call for balance, not vengeance. But Duryodhan, consumed by greed, stood for everything that was unjust. His heart, clouded by pride and deceit, was weak, filled with fear, masked as confidence. So when the conches of Pandavas blew, it wasn't merely sound. It was the vibration of Dharma, piercing the false power of Adharma. Such is the nature of unrighteousness. It breeds fear even in the strongest. So the sound that shook the battlefield of Kurukshetra was not just a call to war. It was the sound of truth awakening, the sound of justice resounding through the universe. Arjun Uvacha Atha Vyavasthitan Drashtva Dhartarashtran Kapidhvajah Pravrit Shastra Sampate Dhanurtyamya Pandavaha Rishikesham Tada Vakyam Idamaha Mahipate Senayoru Bhayor Madhe Ratham Sthapaya Me Achyuta. Then, O Dhritarashtra, seeing the sons of Dhritarashtra standing in their positions, and as the battle was about to begin, Pandava, Arjun, whose chariot bore the emblem of Hanuman, lifted his bow and spoke the following words to Rishikesh, Lord Krishna. This verse marks the beginning of the actual Bhagavad Gita dialogue between Lord Sri Krishna and Arjun. Sanjay now transitions from describing the battlefield scene to narrating the divine conversation that follows. The word atha indicates this shift from describing the armies and preparations for war to the beginning of the spiritual dialogue. Pravrutte Shastra Sampate. Though Bhishma had blown his conch to cheer up Duryodhana, not to declare war, yet the Kaurav and Pandava armies thought the war had been just declared, and so they became ready with weapons. Seeing them equipped with the weapons, Arjun also lifted his bow named Gandiv. Here it is interesting to observe fear versus fearlessness. Duryodhana, seeing the might of Pandava army, was filled with fear and anxiety and thus ran to his teacher Dronacharya for reassurance. In contrast, Arjun was calm, courageous and fearless, embodying the composure of righteousness, dharma. Kapidhwaj, Hanuman's banner. The flag on Arjuna's chariot bore the image of Hanuman, symbolizing divine strength, fearlessness and protection. When Bhima once met Hanuman in the forest, Hanuman blessed him, saying, "When you roar in battle, I will amplify your roar with mine." Thus, Hanuman's presence signified certain victory and divine protection for Arjun. Rishikesham tada vakyam, idam aha mahipate. Duryodhana, seeing the army of Pandava approach his teacher Drona, spoke the words cleverly, while Arjun, seeing the army of Kaurav, approached Lord Krishna, who is a world teacher, who is acquainted with the hearts of all, and who is the inspirer of mind and intellect, spoke the words full of bravery, courage and duty. Yavadeta niriksheham yoddhukaman avasthitan karmaya saha yoddhavyam asmin rana samuddame. Hey Achyut, place my chariot between the two armies and hold it there till I have carefully observed the war-minded warriors with whom I must wage this war. Arjun is referring to Sri Krishna as Achyut. Achyut means one who does not deviate from his divine glory, one who is constant. Arjun asked Lord Sri Krishna to put his chariot in the middle of the two armies so that he can see who is so eager to fight with him. How long should the chariot be placed between the two armies? Arjun says, hold the chariot there till I have carefully observed those war-minded kings with their armies who are stationed in the army of Kauravas and with whom I have to wage war. Let me see the heroes I have to encounter. Let me also see which one of them are inferior, superior and equal to me in their bravery. Yotsyamānāna veksheham yayatetra samāgataha dhartra rashtrasya durbuddhiryuddhe priyachikirashavaha. I desire to watch the evil-minded Duryodhana's well-wishers, kings who have assembled here with their armies and are ready to fight. Dhritarashtre durbuddher yuddhe priyachikir shavaha. Here Arjuna, by calling Duryodhana evil-minded, wants to convey how Duryodhana conspired for their destruction several times and tried his best to humiliate them. Arjuna says, we are the lawful owners of half the empire, but he wants to grab it. He is evil-minded, and these kings have assembled here to support him. The duty of a friend is to give good advice that add to his welfare now and thereafter. But these kings, instead of removing his evil-mindedness, want to enhance it and are really degrading him by instigating him to wage war. Yotsyamānāna veksheham yayetetra samāgataha. I want to observe the warriors who are so impatient to wage war. They have favored unrighteousness and injustice. Yotsyamānāna, it means that Arjun wants to see those who have a keen desire to fight. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Mukto Rishikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayoru Bhayor Madhe, 'Sthapayitva rathotamam. Bhishmadrona pramukhtaha sarveshancha mahikshitam uvacha partha paishattanam samavetan kuruniti. Sanjay said, O Bharat, born in the Bharat family, thus addressed by Gurukesha, one who has control over sleep, that is Arjun, Rishikesh, the Lord of senses, that is Lord Krishna, placed the magnificent chariot between the two armies in front of Bhishma, Drona and all the kings and said, Hey Parth, behold all these Kurus assembled here. Gudkeshana. Gudkesha has two meanings. Guda means curled and Kesa means hair. It means one having curly hair. Gudaka means sleep and Isa means masters. It means one who has conquered sleep. Arjun had curly hair and had conquered sleep, so he has been called Gudkesa. Eva Mukta, one who is not a slave to sleep, idleness and worldly pleasures, but is a slave or devotee to God. God listens to such person and even obeys him. Having said so, in order to carry out the wish of his devotee friend Arjun, Lord Krishna placed the chariot between the two armies. Rishikesh. Rishika means senses and Isha means Lord. Thus Rishikesha means the Lord of the senses. Lord Krishna placed the chariot with his prudence at such a point from where Arjun could see his relatives, such as Bhishma and his teacher Drona and chief kings and warriors of Kaurav army, that he could see very clearly. In the word Kuru, the sons of both Dhritarashtra and Pandu are included, because both of them belong to the Kuru family. But Lord Krishna, by saying, Behold all these Kurus assembled here, means that by seeing them, Arjun may think that they are all one, whether they are on his side or on the opposite side, and whether they are good or bad, and thus a feeling of kinship may develop in him. This feeling of kinship may lead to attachment and make him inquisitive. Thus, by making Arjuna an instrument, Lord Krishna wants to offer the gospel of Gita for the blessing of the creatures of Kal Yuga. Lord Krishna says, Behold these Kurus. Lord Krishna could have placed the chariot without uttering any words, but he intentionally used the phrase Kuru Pasya to arouse attachment and feeling of love for the family in Arjun. There is a vast difference between love for the family and love for God, though there is also a little similarity. When we have love for family members, we overlook their faults because of our feelings of mindness with them. Similarly, God also does not heed the shortcomings of his devotee because he has the feeling that he is his own. But in domestic love, importance is attached to matters such as the body, while in love for the God or Supreme, there is importance of feelings. In family love, there is an importance of alliance. In love for God, there is importance of divinity. In family love, there is a darkness, while in divine love, there is light. In family love, a man is negligent of his duty, while in love for God, being engrossed in love, a man may forget his duty momentarily, but is never negligent of his duty. In family love, there is a preeminence of the family, while in love for God, there is a preeminence to God or Supreme. Tatra pasya stithan parthaha pitranatha pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratran putran pautran sakhinsthatha. Standing there, Arjun then saw in both the armies his uncles, granduncles, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, cousins, sons, grandsons, friends, father-in-laws, and all well-wishers as well. When Lord Krishna told Arjun to behold the Kurus on the battlefield, Arjun saw the members of his family assembled on both sides. He saw his father's brother named Bhurishrava, who was just like his father. He saw his granduncles Bhishma and Somdatta, his teacher Drona and Kripa, maternal uncles such as Purujit, Kuntibhoj, Salya, and Shakuni, cousins Vikarna, Duryodhan, sons such as Abhimanyu, Ghatotkach, and Duryodhan's son Lakshman, and grandsons such as the sons of Lakshman, friends of Duryodhan named Ashwathama, and many others, and also his friends, father-in-laws such as Drupad, Sebya, and well-wishers such as Satyaki and Krutvarma, and many others. Shvashuransu harudhaschaiva senayoru bhayorapi tan samikshasya kaunteyah sarvan bandhu navasthitan. Arjun, the son of Kunti, seeing all those relatives present there and standing against him, was filled with extreme compassion and uttered these following words in sadness. After seeing the warriors who were related to him through family on both sides, Arjun suddenly developed a soft heart and kinship with them because he thought that on both sides they were his relatives and they would be killed in the war. In this way, it was his family that would be destroyed on either side. Thinking thus, his bravery gave place to fearfulness, weakness, and he gave up the idea of war. And then, in utter sadness, Arjun spoke to Lord Krishna. Arjuna Uvach Društevam Svajanam Krishna Yuyutsum Sumapasthitam Sidanti Mama Gatrani Mukhancha Parishushati Vipatthuscha Sharire Me Romaharshascha Jayate Gandivam Sransate Hastatvakchaiva Paridehate Nacha Shaknyomeva Sthatum Brahmati Vacha Me Manaha Nimittani Cha Pashyami Vipiritani Keshava Nacha Shayonu Pashyami Hatva Swajanamahave. O Krishna, seeing my own relatives assembled here, eager to fight, my limbs fail me and my mouth becomes dry. My body shivers and my hair stand on end. The bow Gandiv slips out of my hand and my skin burns all over. My mind seems to be reeling and I am not even able to stand any longer. Hey Keshav, I only see the signs of bad, inauspicious omen. I do not see any good in killing my own people, either in this world or in the next. As Arjun gazes upon his relatives, elders, and teachers gathered for war, his physical strength collapses, a reflection of the deep emotional turmoil overtaking his heart. His body reacts to the emotional crisis he faces. His warrior's bow, Gandiv, slipping out of his hands signifies the moment his inner resolve begins to crumble. Arjun's confusion deepens. The clarity of warrior gives way to despair and dizziness. He perceives the entire battlefield as an inauspicious, and he is unable to reconcile his duty with emotion. On one hand, through his tactical dialogue, Duryodhan is trying to influence Dronacharya, signifies that there is no change in his attitude as far as war is concerned. But there is a lot of change in Arjun's attitude. First, after seeing the sons of Dhritarashtra, Arjun, like a hero, gets ready for war. But after carefully seeing his relatives present on both sides, he is overwhelmed with compassion. His bow slips from his hand, his body gives in, and his enthusiasm for war starts diminishing. Thinking of the consequences of war, Arjun is worried and sad. So his limbs are giving away, his mouth is drying up, and his hair is standing on end. The same Gandhi bow, the sound of whose strings terrified enemies, is dropping from his hand, and his skin is burning all over. His mind is reeling, he is in dilemma, and he is unable even to stand. He feels as if he is going to fall unconscious, and he thinks to wage war and kill his own people is a sin. Nakangshe Vijayam Krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha, kim no rajyena govinda, kim bhogera jivitena va. O Krishna, I covet no victory, no kingdom, no pleasure. O Govinda, of what use to us is the kingdom or luxuries or even life? Suppose we get victory and then we get the kingdom of the entire earth and all the worldly pleasures. These are of no value. I do not want either victory, kingdom or pleasure. When we do not desire anything, such as victory, kingdom or pleasure, of what use to us is the kingdom? Victory, kingdom and pleasure seem pleasant only when there is desire for these. But we have no desire for these. So how can these be pleasant to us? After killing our relatives, we have no desire to live, and after death, who will enjoy these pleasures? Eshamarthe kangshitam no rajyam bhogaha sukhani cha ta imeva sthita yuddhe prana satyaktava dhanani cha. Those for whose sake we seek kingdom, enjoyment and pleasures are here, standing against us on the battlefield, staking their lives and wealth. Whatever kingdom, pleasure and enjoyment we desire, we want these for our relatives and friends. With these, we want to please and serve our teachers, uncles, granduncles and others. We do not want to possess these for our own personal enjoyment. But all of these are standing against us, standing here on the battlefield, staking their lives and wealth. They have decided to sacrifice even their own lives on the war front. If all of them are killed, for whom should we desire kingdom, prosperity and pleasure? If they had got a desire for life and prosperity, why would they stand here to be slain? They have renounced everything, and that's how they are standing here to fight. Acharyaha pitaraha putras tathaiva cha pitamahaha matulaha shashvuraha pautraha shalyaha sambandhinastatha etan hantum ichhami gnantopi madhusudana apitrailokya rajyasya hetoha kimnu mahikrute. My teachers, uncles, fathers, sons, as well as grand-uncles, maternal uncles, fathers-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-laws and other relatives who are standing against me here. Though they may kill me, I would not seek to slay them, even for the kingdom of all the three worlds, and least for this earth. If our relatives, being prompted by greed or anger, want to slay me, I do not seek to kill them out of anger or greed, because these two are the gateways to hell. Here the word api has been used 2 times by Arjun. It means the first, why should they kill me when I do not create any obstacle to their selfish motive? Even then, suppose they slay me by thinking that I stood as an obstacle to their selfish motive, I do not seek to slay them. Secondly, though there is no possibility of the kingdom of the three worlds coming to me by killing them, yet, if I get it, I do not seek to slay them. Arjun refers to Krishna here as Madhusudana. It means that you kill the demons such as Madhu. But these teachers, such as Drona, and elders, granduncles, such as Bhishma, are not demons. They are our near and dear ones. So why should I have a desire to kill them? I should serve respected and generous teachers and elders such as Bhishma and Drona, rather than fight them. It is appropriate on our part even to sacrifice our lives for them. Lord Krishna, in the 21st verse of the 16th chapter, says that passion, anger and greed, these constitute the triple gates to hell. Really, these three are different forms of passion. These are born out of our attachment for worldly things and persons. Passion has 2 sides. One, to get the desired things, and to get rid of the undesired ones. Desired things include accumulation and enjoyment. The desire for accumulation is known as greed, and the desire for enjoyment is called passion. If desire for accumulation and enjoyment is not satisfied, anger grows. In anger, men perform actions to destroy those who create obstacles in the fulfillment of their desires. It proves that men fight to get desired things and to get rid of undesired ones. But Arjun does not want to fight for either of the two. Nihatya dhritarashtranaka priti hasya janardana papameva shrayedasman hatvaitana tatayinaha. O Janardhan, what delight can we derive by slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin alone will attach to us by slaying these criminals. We cannot derive even the slightest joy by slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra and the warriors of their army. If we kill them out of anger or greed, we shall have no repent, because the memory of them will obsess us and the grief of their death will torment us. We cannot get joy in this world by killing them. And sin will accumulate to us in the next world, which will torment us there as well. Here Arjun refers to Duryodhana and his army as criminals. There are 6 kinds of criminals: one who sets fire, who poisons, who murders, who seizes wealth of others, who seizes kingdom of others, and those who kidnap others' wives. Duryodhana and his companions have committed all these criminal offenses. They secretly set fire to the residence where the Pāṇḍavas were expected to be sleeping. They poisoned Bhīma and threw him into the river. They made multiple attempts on the life of Pāṇḍavas. While gambling, they deceitfully deprived the Pāṇḍavas of their wealth and kingdom. And in the assembly, Duryodhana insulted Draupadi by calling her his waiting maid, and persuaded Jayadratha to kidnap Draupadi, and he did kidnap her. Though Duryodhana and his supporters, being criminals, deserve to be killed, yet sin will accrue to us as a result of such action, because they are our kith and kin. It is mentioned in the scriptures that one who kills his relatives is a great sinner. So how can we kill them? Therefore, it is better to break off our relationship with them rather than to kill them. Tasman narha vayam hantum dhartarashtran swabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syam madhava. O Madhav, therefore we should not slay the sons of Dhritarashtra, our own relatives. For how can we, by killing our own relatives, gain happiness? O Madhav, if mere thought of their slaughter is so painful, just imagine how much more painful it would be to slay them after being blinded by desire and anger. How can we feel happy after their slaughter? They are our own close relations. Delusion, which is born of sense of mind, deprives Arjun of his sense of duty as a Kshatriya, the warrior class. Where there is a delusion, there is no discretion. When discretion is suppressed by delusion, the sense of duty gets blurred. Yadyapeye tena pashyanti lobhopahat chetasaha kulakshaya kratam dosham mitradrohe ca patakama katham nadneyam asmabhiha papadasmana nivartitam kulakshaya krutam dosham prapashyad bhira janardana. Although these people, with their understanding clouded by greed, do not perceive the evil in destroying their own families and in sinning against friends, yet, O Janardhan, why should we, who clearly see the sin involved in such destruction, not refrain from such a sinful act? Greed, consisting of the desire to have more and more of wealth, property, praise, respect, and rank, has deluded Duryodhana and his companions. Because of this greed, they have lost their discretion and do not think about the disastrous consequences of war and the sin that will arise from it. This extraordinary greed has deprived them from their senses of righteousness, and little do they realize that the kingdom for which they are bent on committing this sin, destroying their own relatives, will not stay with them for long. The fleeting pleasures of possession is soon followed by the pain of loss, which far outweighs the momentary joy of ownership. With minds clouded by greed for their kingdom, they fail to perceive the deadly sin that will arise from destroying their own families. Arjun further clarifies that we manage life well without things which we did not possess. The paucity of things was not so painful as if we missed those things after possessing them. These things can be with us for a short time only, because they stay so long as the fortune favors us. Then they slip away. Thus, we remain the same as we were without getting these. We worked hard to get them and are now sad after losing them. After getting them, we felt somewhat happy, but only because of greed. If we do not have this evil or greed, we can never be unhappy after losing anything. Similarly, we get happiness from members of our family because of love and delusion. Thus, worldly pleasure itself arises out of evil. Without evil, no worldly pleasure is possible. Greed destroys our discretion, and we cannot think from the right perspective. And then Arjun further says, if those friends cause us pain, it will not harm us, because pain destroys our sins and purifies us. But if we have feelings of bad intention and enmity, those feelings remain with us in this life as well as the other births, and will instigate us to commit more sins and lead us to degradation. Therefore, we should certainly reject such a sin. Kulakshe pranashayanti kuladharmaha sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam kratsnam adharmo bhibhavatyutta adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyaha strishu dushtasu varushneya jayate varna sankaraha sankaro narkayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha doshere teh kulagnanam varna sankar karkeh utsahadante jati dharmaha kulak dharmascha shashvataha. With the destruction of a family, its age-old family traditions disappear, and with the absence of these traditions, impiety and disrespect takes hold of the entire family. When impiety prevails, O Krishna, the women of family become corrupt, and when they become corrupt, it leads to a mixture of castes and social confusion. A mixture of castes leads the family to hell. Deprived of the ritual offerings, the entire family experiences the downfall. Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narke niyatam vaso bhavatityanu shushruma. O Janardhan, we have heard that men who have lost their family traditions dwell in hell for an indefinite period of time. God has granted man with discretion and the right to perform new deeds, hence he is free to perform good or bad actions. He should use discretion in performing right actions, but he, being the captive of greed and pleasures, does not use his discretion and acts against the ordinance of scriptures and family values. Consequently, he is criticized, insulted, and looked down upon in this life and suffers tortures of hell for a long time in the life to come. This is what we have heard from our elders and ancestors. Aho bat mahat papam kartum vyavasitaha vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajana muddataha. Alas, what has happened? We are here willing to commit such sins as killing our own family out of greed for material pleasures? The word aho expresses surprise. It is surprising that we have decided to commit sin by waging this war, even having known its horrifying consequences. The word bata expresses sorrow. It is a matter of sorrow that we are prepared to slay our own people, being overpowered by greed, for a temporary kingdom and pleasure. By doing so, we are going to commit a great sin by turning a deaf ear to the teachings of our own teachers, elders, and scriptures. Yadi mama pratikaram shastram shastrapanayah dharta rashtrarane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhaveta. I would prefer it if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with weapons in their hands, kill me unarmed and unresisting in the battle. Arjun says, if I turn away from the war, perhaps our opponents will also refrain from it. Why will they fight if we are determined not to fight? But even if, regarding us as their enemy, they zealously armed with weapons kill me, that will indeed be in my own interest, as it would be a kind of regret for determination which I had made in the war to kill my elders and relatives, and I shall be purified of the sins. It means that if I do not wage war, I will escape the sin and my relatives will not be destroyed. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktva Arjunaha Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishata Visrujjasa Sharam Chapam Shoka Sambigna Manasaha. Sanjay said, Arjun, grief-stricken on the battlefield, having spoken thus and having laid down his bow and arrow, sad, despaired, and dejected, he slumped down on the floor. War is the root cause of all evils. It will destroy a race and it will lead us to hell in the next world. By thinking so, Arjun, overwhelmed with sorrow, became firmly determined not to wage war. Arjun, who had come to the battlefield with great zeal with Gandiv bow in his hand, put the bow and arrow down and, overwhelmed with the sorrow, sat on the seat of the chariot. The main reason of Arjun's grief is that when Lord Krishna placed the chariot between the two armies and asked Arjun to behold the Kurus, he saw Bhishma and Drona standing in front of him. So his attachment was aroused. Thus he thought about the destruction of his race and the sin accumulating from it. Then he said that even if the warriors of the hostile army killed him while he was unarmed and unresisting, that would be for his good. Thus, empowered by delusion, Arjun perceives good in turning away from the war. And even in his death, and finally having abandoned his bow and arrow, overwhelmed with grief, sits on the floor. We see that it is the delusion which changes Arjun's great courage to confusion and dejection. It is very interesting to note here that many ordinary people would agree with Arjun's arguments, but not with Lord Krishna. They would say Arjun wanted to avoid sin by refusing to fight, but Krishna forced him into war. However, that is misunderstanding. Krishna did not force Arjun to fight. He simply reminded him of his duty. It was Arjun who had invited Krishna to the battlefield, but when Arjun saw his own relatives on the opposite side, his emotions took over and he wanted to give up his responsibility. Krishna only guided him back to the right path, showing him that a warrior's duty is to fight a righteous war, not to run away from it. Krishna's guidance can be compared to someone who helps traveler lost on the road. Imagine a man heading to a destination A, but accidentally walking in the wrong direction. When someone points out his mistake and shows him the right way, that person isn't forcing him, only correcting him. Similarly, Krishna helped Arjun find his true direction, his duty. At first, Arjun told Krishna, I will not fight. But after hearing Krishna's teaching, he changed and said, I will do what you say, meaning I will fulfill my duty. The war itself was unavoidable. Krishna revealed to Arjun his divine form and said, I am time, the destroyer of the worlds. Even if you don't fight, all these warriors will perish. This means that the destruction was destined to happen, whether Arjun fought or not. Even if Arjun refused, his brothers would not. Yudhishthir would fight out of righteousness. Bhim would fight because of his vow, and Draupadi's father, brother, sons, and even Abhimanyu would join the battle. So the war was bound to happen. Krishna reminded Arjun, and through him all humanity, that we cannot control what is destined to occur. What we can control is our duty. When we fulfill our duty sincerely, it leads to growth and liberation. But when we neglect it, we fall into the confusion and suffering. Thus, Krishna's message was not about encouraging violence, it was about teaching the timeless truth. Never run away from your rightful duty and always act in alignment with divine wisdom. Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjun Viṣhāda Yoga Nama Prathamodhyayah. Thus, with the words Om Tat Sat, the names of the Lord as sung in the Upanishad of the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjun, ends the first chapter entitled Arjun Viṣhāda Yoga, the yoga of dejection of Arjun.